It is 6 a.m. on a Monday morning. Justin Myers with you. Boston Celtics take down the Dallas Mavericks 105-98. They now have a 2-0 lead in the NBA Finals. It is NoMaha for the Oregon Ducks and Oregon State Beavers after both go down in the Super Regionals. The Beavs saw their season come to a close with a 3-2 loss to the Kentucky Wildcats, and the Oregon Ducks also had their season wrapped up after falling to Texas A&M 15-9, including a 9-run seventh inning. UConn head coach Dan Hurley is expected to make his decision on the Lakers later today, saying that the Lakers and the Buss family made an intriguing pitch. Coming up, voice of the Portland Trailblazers, friend of the program, Travis Demers, joins us in hour number 3, but hour number 1 of Rip City Mornings here on a Monday. It starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. And a very happy Monday. It is RCM. I am your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brenden safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late, however you are rolling on this particular Monday. A lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. It was a more competitive game, too, in the NBA Finals, but never felt like Dallas had a chance in this one. It just, I don't know. I've said I have no stats to back it up, and I think this is why the stat nerds hate me, also because I keep calling them stat nerds. But there is a feel to a big-time game, and you could throw all these numbers at me and look at this and look at that, but there is always this a feel, and while this was a more competitive game, if you're watching this game, did you ever in game 2 look at this and go, oh, boy, if Boston doesn't clean up this, they're going to be in trouble. Or, boy, here comes the Dallas. Other than in the first quarter, when Dallas came out a little bit hot, Boston figured some things out, made some adjustments. Peyton Pritchard, by the way, the pride of West Lynn, with a buzzer beater. It never felt like Dallas had a chance. It never felt like that Boston did not have complete control. It reminds me, like the Boston Celtics remind me of like a football team that is capable of running the football, right? It might be a 7-point game, right? It might be just a 1-possession game. But if you're watching, you've seen a football game where you're like, this team, no matter what, they are going to get 5 yards a pop every time they run the ball. And you know you're not winning that day. That's what it feels like with the Boston Celtics. They feel like the basketball version of a team that can run the ball at will. And that no matter what, we're going to be okay. It was 105-98. It felt like a 15, 20-point game. Just it felt like a 15, 20-point game. Luka looks a little bit tired. Kyrie is clearly frustrated with the defense that Boston is throwing at him. And now I am not going to make the foolish decision that we all make, which is we are not going to declare anything in this series until somebody wins on the road. We're not going to do it. We will not do it on this show. Can't, won't, never have, well, probably have, but we're not going to. We're not going to do it. But it certainly looks like this is the Boston Celtics team that we have been watching all season long. Is Boston a bit of a victim of their own success? And hear me out. There's nothing really fun or dramatic about this team. You think about all the other things we talked about all year long in the NBA, including into the playoffs, but there was some drama attached to it, right? Is Anthony Edwards the face of the NBA? Is Donovan Mitchell, does he want out of Cleveland? The whole LeBron and the Lakers thing, right? What's going on with LeBron and the Lakers ultimately got their coach fired. Ho-hum, all season long, the Celtics have been the best team in basketball. And maybe, possibly, I don't know, we may have overstated their massively easy path to the NBA Finals, which it was. Don't get me wrong. It was a tiptoe through the tulips, as they said, a cakewalk to the NBA Finals. Super producer Brenden is here. When you hear the term cakewalk, do you have any frame of reference there? Because I know what a cakewalk was. I'm curious if you and your generation ever did an actual legitimate cakewalk. When you hear cakewalk, what do you just think of it as sports terms?
No real reference other than the fact that it's just something is easy.
So, let me tell you something, Brenden. Back in the 80s, now this would be unheard of today, I believe. But back in the 80s, when I was a young elementary school student at McGovern Elementary, let's go Cheetahs. We love our Cheetahs in Winston. Kayam, R.I.P. But we would have the McGovern School Carnival. Did you have a carnival at least in elementary school? What was the carnival like at, what was your elementary school?
I was at Middleton, but gosh, yeah. I mean, it was, man, you're asking me to remember deep.
Brenden, I am like 15 years older than you, and I can remember my school carnival like it was yesterday.
Just kind of so-so. Like, I remember it was kind of a carnival, but nothing like crazy. You know, like go around, play games in the gym. You could win prizes like 2 liters of soda and stuff.
So we would have these games all sat around, but it's a big fundraiser, like usually for the library or something, right? And so you would come in. One of the games, legitimate game, was a thing called a cakewalk. So what you would do is you would have all of these donated cakes. People, like the teachers at the school, they would make homemade cakes, bring them, full cake. And every cake had a number. And then on the ground, if you paid your money to be part of the cakewalk, there were, at least this is how we did it at McGovern, there was like just like paper, like upside down. And every piece of paper had a number. And if you paid money to be part of the cakewalk, it was almost like musical chairs. You would just walk around and walk around. And once the music stopped, you had to stop. And you went down and you picked up your piece of paper. It's like, number four. And then you got cake number 4. And you got to take the cake home. It was the best.
It's actually really cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah, definitely didn't do that.
So that was the cakewalk. Now here's what I'm wondering. In 2024, maybe in some neighborhoods, I don't know, but clearly everybody knew everybody where I grew up. Do you think it would be allowed to just take home a cake that was made by kind of a stranger?
No, I don't think so. Nope.
Also, you know what else could not happen? Well, is it gluten-free? Is it vegan? Is it like, no, that cake has got gluten, butter, and eggs. Dude, cakewalks were the best. It was the best. It was like $2. You get to be part of the cakewalk, except if you got that German chocolate one. Not a fan of German chocolate. The coconut was always a little weird. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the Celtics. Celtics had a cakewalk into the NBA Finals because Jimmy Butler was hurt, and then Donovan Mitchell got hurt, and then he got his coach fired, and then Tyrese Halliburton got hurt. But also the Celtics in that cakewalk were playing without Porzingis. As it turns out, looking back in the regular season, they might have had the best. They might have the best regular season, or they were the best team in the NBA clearly all along. But Brenden, do you think they were almost too good because they were kind of boring? Part of this is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are very, very good, but there's no drama with those two, right? You think about like dynamic duos in the NBA. We need a little bit of drama. We're trying to create it. Media's trying to throw it out there. Jaylen Brown, is he the alpha? Is Jason Tatum really? Who's going to get? To their credit, at least this year, they've managed to figure it out and play well together. But there hasn't been any drama with the Celtics, which is good for them because they're up 2-0 in the finals, and they have not been in any way, shape, or form actually pushed to the brink of elimination here in this postseason, and likely won't be unless Dallas goes ballistic when they get back home. But it has a feel of meh, but it's because Boston is just so good, to their credit.
And we've kind of known that, though, right? Coming into the year, like Boston, again, easy path to the finals relatively. Like we said, you can't control who you play against and whether they get injured. But regardless, Boston was the best team in the NBA this year. They had a relatively easy path to the finals, and they've delivered against a team who I know we've all been like, Luka and the Mavs. There's still a reason they were a 5 seed, folks. And I think sometimes you have to – I know the West wasn't separated by a lot, but still they were not the best in the West for a reason. And that's why I said I think they're good, not great.
Especially in the NBA, we love storytelling. We love story time, right? Again, is this going to be an elementary school theme show today? I don't know. Sometimes the themes just come up. But we love story time. So when you think of the Dallas Mavericks this year, it's the Luka story, right? Is Luka the best player in the world? Luka was talking to Rudy Gobert. Has he taken the reign of being the NBA's best player? Kyrie redemption story time, right? It was story time with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Is Anthony Edwards the new face of the NBA? Story time, right? Even going back to the first round, the LA Clippers, it's story time with the LA Clippers. Harden and George and what's going on with Kawhi Leonard. And then even in the East, right, is Donovan Mitchell happy? What's going on with the Pacers? It's all story time. What's the story? What's the story of the Boston Celtics? It's very simple. We're just good. We're just good. Yeah, we had a little drama with our coach. Not even drama, but lost to Miami last year, and everybody got all up in their feels about Joe Mazzulla. And is he the guy? It turns out he's perfectly fine. Tried to create a thing between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Can't. It was there earlier. It was there 3 years ago. Not there anymore. We love story time in the NBA. And I think the most frustrating thing about these Boston Celtics, they love it. Their fans love it. There's no story there. There really isn't. Where's the drama? If this was a Netflix series, I would have abandoned it two episodes ago. But they just keep plugging along and plugging along. All right. We may get back into basketball coming up a little bit later on. We are going to get into on campus with some college football news and notes, but Oregon State go down in the Super Regionals. That's kind of the big story, but really the big story was last night, right about 9:30 p.m. on that last out for Oregon State officially ended the Pac-12. What went wrong? Another Pac-12 postmortem because it's officially over when we come back next, 620 Rip City Radio. It was a significant weekend for any fan of college sports on the West Coast because you saw both Oregon and Oregon State in the Super Regional trying to extend and get to the College World Series. Oregon State trying to get back from the last time they were there, which they won the whole gold darn thing, and Oregon trying to get back to the College World Series, first time since 1954. But also, both teams in the Super Regionals trying to extend for one more weekend the Pac-12 conference, because as Oregon was getting boat raced in the seventh inning in College Station, Texas yesterday, ultimately giving up 9 runs on 2 hits. It's not good. It's not ideal. We may dive into this, maybe coming up and make or miss a little bit, but I will say this. A lot of people are probably frustrated that the kid gave up a grand slam, and the grand slam that Oregon gave up, because they were only down 1 at the time, and then that's grand slam. You're down 5. The wheels are off, and that's a 9-run 7th. But at least it was a strike. At least the kid coming out of the bullpen toed the rubber and said, you know what, I'm at least going to throw this over the plate, as opposed to walk after walk after walk.
Vastly different ways, Justin, but our two teams both were surgically removody from the NCAA postseason.
One couldn't pitch, one couldn't hit.
Yeah, very different, but yet you and I arrived.
It's like 2 paths from both probably flew out of the Eugene airport.
Oh, yeah.
Both probably flew out of EUG, right? Probably walked by the Wings bar right there, and you get on that plane. It's like, well, one plane, we're going to bring your bats, but your pitching's going to stay back. We lost it. We're sorry. And then the other plane, well, we're going to bring your pitching at least for game 2. But your bats are not going to make it on the trip. So yeah, both flew out of Eugene. But
I'll say this too.
But both one did not bring a bullpen, and the other did not bring their bats.
Watching the game, I'll say this, Justin. I'll kind of tip my hat. Kentucky fans, from what I could tell, respect the game. Watching Texas A&M, don't know how I feel about the bubbles. I don't know how I feel about the ball 5 chant.
Can I say this?
I mean, they panned the stadium. It looks like a football stadium in College Station. It's insane. Anyway.
Let me say this. The ball 5 chant is awesome. I hated it because it's my team, but
you're in with the bubbles?
Not the bubbles.
Because there were people with professional bubble
I know. The bubble thing I can't. That's all right. That's insane. That's some kindergarten stuff. But the ball 5 thing and the ball 6, I kind of like it. I do. If it was my team, I would be like, this is the coolest thing ever. But that being said, both teams were eliminated, and it was a significant day yesterday, because Oregon went down, and a couple of hours later, Oregon State down 1, runners on first and third, and then it all went away, thus ending for the last final time, because also the NCAA Outdoor Championships were going on in Eugene at historic Hayward Field. They wrapped up Sunday afternoon, which means it's now officially over. It's over. The Pac-12 10-8 PCC, I think is what it originated as. It's now officially done like dinner. So, as we do on this, I think it is appropriate to take a look back. Look, we have done the how did the Pac-12 get here? We have done and there are many, many, many reasons. But if you ask me, ultimately, if years down the road, and who knows what college athletics is going to look like years down the road, it frightens the daylights out of me. But if you were to try to explain to children being born, Scotty Scheffler just won the tournament at Memorial, has got a newborn. That kid's going to grow up and be like, oh, well, what was college sports like before 2024? And you're going to be like, well, it was a whole weird thing. What happened to this 100-plus-year-old institution that was the Pac-12 10-8. What ultimately did this conference in? And if you have to put we can blame Larry Scott. We can blame Tom Hansen. Real OGs know about how the leadership of Tom Hansen. We can blame time zones. How many times have we blamed time zones? Right, playing on the West Coast. 8 o'clock kickoffs are normal on the East Coast. They're a little different on the West Coast. We can blame time zones. We can blame culture. We can blame geography. It's just there's more people on the East Coast, or that would be demographics, I guess. Geography, more spread out. But ultimately, when you look back at what on earth happened, it was hubris. It was hubris. It was pride. It was not being self-aware. Because as Oregon State and Oregon and the track athletes who were participating in Eugene, as they turn in their uniforms, I don't know if you do that in college, but I just remember in high school when you were done, you had to meet up the next day, and you turn in your uniform, and there's going to be barbecues, there's going to be banquets, there's going to be awards. But as you turn in the uniforms, there is going to be one specific modification. All those Pac-12 patches are coming off, and they're not going back on. All those fields, if they haven't already done it, all those basketball courts, if they haven't already done it, all those Pac-12 logos are now done. How did we get here? Hubris, pride, not being self-aware. What do they say? A comedy of errors, even though this is a tragedy of errors, because I do think there is going to be something missing. Yeah. And by the way, if you don't think this can happen again in the Big Ten, if you don't think this can happen again in the Big 12, if you don't think this can happen again in the SEC, take a look around and pay attention. The Pac-12 was vulnerable. The Pac-12 was vulnerable. The ACC was this close to being the Pac-12 before the Pac-12. The difference was the ACC had this ridiculous TV deal that they created that runs into the 2030s that now it looks at as kind of a joke. But, Brenden, if they did not have, where they get, $12 million, I think, a school? Meanwhile, Big Ten schools, like full member Big Tens are getting like $75 million. If they did not have that ESPN deal, the ACC would have been picked apart just like the Pac-12 was. The ACC, if they did not have that 12-year, whatever $million deal that they signed before TV execs looked around and went, hey, guys, nobody's watching our regular TV stuff. Well, what are they watching? They're watching sports. Why is that? You have to watch it live. They're on to us. They figured it out. I wonder if TV executives knew this for years and years and years, and we're just hoping that nobody paid attention. But they're like, gang, they're on to us. Everybody figured out you don't have to watch The Voice live. What about spoilers? People don't care anymore. They don't care. You can watch Chicago PD the next day. They're on to us. They've got us, guys. All right. Well, then what about commercials? Yeah, we're in a bit of trouble there because when people don't watch shows live, they don't want commercials. Well, that's how we make all our money. Yeah. You know what they do watch though? Sports. They watch sports live because they have to. It's the only thing where a spoiler will ruin it. Can't watch it. And they're all addicted to their social media. But before that, if the ACC didn't have that deal, the ACC would have been picked apart too. But the ACC had a little bit better leadership, and they didn't have what the Pac-12 had, which is two things that were happening at the same time. And maybe conveniently linked, which is hubris, as I've been saying, linked with insecurity. Not in the sense of, oh, we're not as good. Insecurity is why are we not being treated as the same as everyone else? Why did USC bolt to the Big Ten? Why? Because USC, for years and years and years, was the big bad bully on the block. And not just in the Pac-10, 8, whatever. USC, nationally, they had more money. They had Los Angeles. Pretty girls in sunshine come out to USC. But a couple of bad coaching hires and an 85 scholarship limit and the marketing in Eugene and a lot of other things has brought and a couple of NCAA violations. It brought USC back down to earth. The problem was USC never looked at themselves like they were the same. Hubris plus insecurity. And USC looked around and was like, why are we not being treated better than everyone else? Why? Why are we playing 7:30 at night on Fridays? We are the Trojans. We are USC. That's how this whole thing got started. It was USC taking a look around going like, why aren't we being treated like everyone else? Now, we could sit there and blame Larry Scott, and there's a lot of blame around, of say like, maybe you should have taken care of USC before USC dumped you, because once they did, then they brought their girlfriend UCLA, and then the floodgates opened up. And that started the whole, so we can just leave? We can just leave whenever we want to? Yeah.
In hindsight, can you say that they were coaching misses, or they got guys who were just not quite ready? Because you look now, they have two of their misses are two guys who are employed and make probably $10 million each in the SEC.
So true.
So,
but
I don't
you're right.
think that Kiffin and Helton, or Kiffin and Sarkisian, Helton might have been a bad hire. That's fair. I'll wear that one. Like them doubling down on Clay Helton and being like all through 2015 and 2021. You know, when the conference.
But I mean, it might not have been a coaching miss. That might have been a mistake by my part. It was.
I mean, I think Clay Helton's just like, Justin. How much job security did he get from winning that Rose Bowl with Sam Darnold?
So much.
Like, and then you think like shortly after that, I think that's like 17 or.
It was 2017, yeah.
Okay, and then it was after that all this kind of realignment stuff started to. You look at when USC was not a factor. I think that is a reason why.
So it was really, it all kind of stems back to Reggie Bush, which is insane as it is.
There's the irony of it.
It was that, Reggie Bush and they lost 30 scholarships and instead, and again, coming back to the main point of this whole segment, hubris, right? If they would have stuck it out with Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin went 10-2. His first year as a head coach. Went 10-2. There was a bowl ban. Couldn't go to a bowl. Couldn't play in the Pac-12 championship game. Beat Oregon at Oregon. They went 10-2. Then what happened? Because the scholarship limits, they were losing 10 per year. And they could hang on and hold on the boat for that first 10. That second, that 20, then it's 30. And they could never really recover, and they fired him on the tarmac because, again, hubris. We're USC. We don't lose to Arizona State the way that you just did. Well, you're also down 30 scholarships, but that we can sit there and blame Larry Scott all we want, and I do blame him a lot. But you cannot deny the attitude of USC and then their little buddy UCLA looking around going like, we are better than this. Why are we not being treated better than this? Why? Now, again, you could go to the flip side and be like, why were you treating USC that way? And there's the bad leadership. But this whole thing stems from insecurity. Why aren't we getting what the Big Ten has? Why aren't we getting what the SEC has? Why is it when ESPN does their pregame show, why don't they come out here? It's because you got your best college football team any given season playing a Friday night game on the road. That's why. On a short week, it's because you refused to even take a look at taking those 9 conference games and maybe making them 8. Maybe making them 8 because the SEC was doing it. The ACC was doing it. But it was an inferiority complex of West Coast schools going like, wait. Why aren't we getting that? Now, looking forward, as I mentioned at the beginning, you think this is just a Pac-12 thing. Hubris, insecurity, keeping up with the Joneses, TV evolving and changing. Don't think this can't happen again, by the way. Don't think that the Big 12 can't die. Don't think that the ACC. Now, it seems like they've got themselves a little bit of a lifeline. The Pac-12 was the first to go. This should be a cautionary tale, but you want to make the TV gods laugh? Tell them how you're going to watch their product tomorrow. You know what I mean? If there's, like, this was, like I said, a tragedy of errors, a perfect storm of bad leadership, inferiority, hubris, and technology. Technology, because streaming is ultimately going to be next on the list. NBA, we may dive into that a little bit later as well. Because the NBA is banking on that. I don't know if you saw the majority of, like, oh, it's moving to NBC. We're getting John Tesh's song back, which I love. There's going to be a lot of NBA games on Peacock. There's going to be a lot of NBA games, like those TNT Tuesday night games. Yeah, get ready to watch those streaming. Which might be the way.
Does it really matter?
Might be the way we all watch sports.
Just like you jump on Peacock to watch.
I know.
Vanderpump Rules, Justin.
I do.
Now you can just jump on Peacock and
Valley.
go, Tuesday night Blazer game? All right, turn it on. Actually, who am I kidding? Blazers aren't going to be national TV next year on a Tuesday night.
3 years from now.
Couple years. You got to earn them national TV slots, but they'll get there. But yeah, I get your point.
But you see what I'm saying, though? With
totally.
College athletics is getting a boatload of money at the top tier for football programs because you have to watch them live, right? You still have to watch them live. How are we going to be watching sports in 5 years? Like, what?
How about this? Just
like try to guess, because if you could, there's a multimedia conglomerate that's going to pay you a lot of money if you could tell them how people are going to be watching TV in 5 years.
Yeah, if you had told me, Justin, June 10th, 2019, what a time, man! That summer before COVID.
Yeah.
What a time.
What a time.
I would actually do just about anything to go back. But yeah, let's go back to then, and then you say now. You would, if you had gone back and found Justin or Brenden and then said, hey, guess what? In 5 years, the NFL is going to have games on Netflix.
Boom.
The NBA is going to have games on Peacock. You go.
And not on TNT.
You go.
The NBA will be off TNT.
Yeah.
And the Pac-12's dissolved.
Well, and it'd be funny.
And 4 of them are going to the Big Ten.
You'd believe a lot of that, Justin, but, the one thing that would be pretty hilarious, people would go, what's Peacock? As it wouldn't launch until 2020.
Mm-hmm. Wait.
Go figure, right?
Netflix. I watched that House of Cards show. That is a great show. I love that Kevin Spacey. Yeah, that's gonna be another thing. Sorry about that.
That's gonna be
one. That one's gonna be another. Boy, I got another thing to inform you about. But if you think failed leadership, inferiority, keeping up with the Joneses, like the Big Ten and the SEC, I think understand that their way lies together. But if you think the Big 12 is safe here, if you think that the ACC is safe here, if you think that all the lessons have been learned, like what did we learn from the death of the Pac-12? Nobody learned anything. It's a cash grab. It was a money grab. And I think the big lesson as we wrap up this segment that nobody learned is that the Pac-12 was better together. It was more valuable than the sum of its parts, but unfortunately it was picked apart and sold apart as scraps. All right. We got some more college football to talk. We continue our countdown to kickoff as we go on campus to wrap up hour number 1 next, 620 Rip City Radio. Boy, Will Smith is really on his redemption tour thing, trying to sell this Bad Boys movie. Don't need Bad Boys 4. Don't need it.
Yeah, I'm not
Don't
really
need it.
in.
But I saw
never really into the franchise, Justin.
He's doing all the shows.
I wasn't really my
thing.
The
Orig was awesome. I love The Orig. It was of its time. It was a total, I think, was it a Bruckheimer movie? I don't know if it was Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yes, the first two were.
Yeah. So it's a perfect, 90s popcorn, Bad Boys, Con Air, The Rock, all those great popcorn movies, Armageddon, and then Bad Boys 2, cool. Didn't need a third or a fourth. But, hey, you know what?
He only gets a production credit for these last two. Tale
as old as time, song as old as rhyme, right? Money grab, let's bring Bad Boys back, right? Hey, Will, nobody really likes you anymore. They really like that Bad Boys movie, though. Let's bring that one back. So I've noticed he's doing a lot of press for that new Bad Boys movie. I'm probably not going to see it, but neither here nor there.
I can guarantee you won't go to the theater for it.
Kelly and I were talking about, is there a movie coming up that we would go to the theater to see? I can't remember what movie we were talking about. And then ultimately decided, yeah, no, wait, that comes on.
Not your jam anymore.
I don't want to take up too much time during on campus, but I'm just, what happened? We talked about with Pac-12 and hubris, did movie theaters get a little too big for their britches? Where they were just everybody's coming to us. We can charge $9 for popcorn. People, I don't know.
Still can't make that popcorn at home, though.
But you're right.
Still can't. I've tried.
Can't do it. You need you need the big scoop of yellow congealed stuff that we don't even know what it is. Don't even know what it is.
I'll throw you two that I think I will probably get dragged into the theaters for this summer's. The new Twister movie.
That was the one.
Yeah.
That was the one. Twisters.
Yep. I want to go watch it. The reviews have been decent. I like Glenn Powell.
Love in Oklahoma. Hear that Luke
too.
Combs song?
Is so
that
good.
song is a banger.
Now, I ride for the OG, Bill Paxton.
But it's okay. So it's not a sequel, though.
No, it's not.
It's a reimagination.
Yes. So I hope
so we don't get to see Joe and I forget Bill Paxton's name. R.I.P. Bill Paxton. And
it was Bill. I just realized that it was Bill. I forget different name, but he went by Bill
and Joe and Dusty and Jonas. Oh, that guy Jonas.
Fashionably late again. But no, that and then the new Deadpool movie are probably the two that I want to see this summer.
I'm gonna make you mad at me. Never seen any Deadpool movie.
Also very disappointing.
Knew you were gonna be mad.
No, I'm not mad. Just disappointed.
A little mad.
Disappointed.
But just a smidge angry.
No, just
want to throw something at me.
I'm just sad. I'm just sad for you. I'm sad for you.
I watch all that Welcome to Wrexham stuff, which I like that show. Do you watch Welcome to Wrexham?
I've seen a couple episodes.
I like it, but they keep mentioning Deadpool, and I know that's kind of Ryan Reynolds' maybe his most famous movie.
Oh,
by far, probably.
Justin, you know what it's like to have a superhero swear and cuss?
I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty darn great.
I hear Deadpool. I'm I have no frame of reference. All right, here's what I do have a little bit of a frame of reference on. College football, countdown to kickoff. Let's go on campus. All right, we are 82 games away from 82 days away from college football kicking off. Have you heard the latest controversy, Brenden? Latest controversy, because, again, the Pac-12 now officially done. It's over. The patches coming off the jerseys. With the new Big Ten schedule and NBC paying $1 gajillion and NBC going, and Fox paying $1 gajillion. You guys want your $70-some million a year? Great. You're going to play a lot of games on Big Noon Kickoff, and NBC is going to have you playing. Every once in a while, you're going to have to play on a Friday night, which I hate, but it's the reality. Turns out, Brenden, Penn State's upset because they don't get a big-time night game for their whiteout. No big-time whiteout game for Penn State. So I was thinking about, If there was a commissioner of college football, and if I was said commissioner, what are certain things, we used to call them traditions. Traditions are now over. What are certain things that should be protected from TV from ruining? TV has already ruined the Pac-12. Like a Penn State game against Michigan State. Well, Michigan State's not going to be very good. That makes Brenden happy. But a Penn State game against Ohio State or Michigan at home at night, that should be protected, I believe.
That's when they have their whiteout, right?
That's what I'm saying. It looks like the only game they may get the whiteout is against Illinois this year. And I think Illinois is better.
Which at the same
They're
token,
better, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Even if you got a Wisconsin game or something.
So I'll say this too, and this is I'm not taking a shot at Penn State. I'm very apathetic towards Penn State. But the Penn State football that I've seen the last few years, Justin, they play a boring brand of football. Very 13-7. They're kind of becoming a little, or at least this last year, Iowa-ish.
Yeah, but you want to know something crazy? You want to hear a crazy stat again? Penn State led the Big Ten in offense last year. You know what the problem was? When they played Michigan and Ohio State, they stunk up the joint.
Yeah,
they beat the tar out of Rutgers and Maryland, right? But when they played those other teams, they stunk up the joint. But I'm just saying, the Red River game, whatever you want to call it, Red River Shootout, that's what it's called. Sounds better that way. Brenden, they might be moving the time. That one always noon Eastern. I think 11 o'clock local. Right there in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl with the fair going on. They might be moving the kickoff time for that. Should be protected. Much like, with like certain natural resources, right? Can't build a condo there. We got to protect it. There's certain things in college football should have been protected. I think Penn State whiteout definitely should be one of them. I think Texas, Oklahoma, playing that game at 9 Pacific time, noon Eastern, definitely should have been protected. Civil War game being played on a Saturday in November should have been protected, but we're losing that.
September will be fun. Nice weather for the blowout that it is.
I'm thinking about going.
You should.
Thinking about going down.
Maybe we can tailgate. Maybe it'll be the one.
I don't even know if I'm going to go to the game. I might just go tailgate.
Maybe we should. Maybe it'll be the one game I take off this year.
I don't know. I think the peeps might want.
I'm not sure what'll get missed on the field, Justin. It could be a bloodbath.
We'll see. All right. We have got hour number 2. We got some more NBA to talk about. Dan Hurley says, I got to take some time to think this one over. Plus, we got to make her miss. Stuff we saw on the internet. All coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. Justin Myers with you. Boston Celtics take down the Dallas Mavericks 105-98 last night. They have a 2-0 lead in the NBA Finals. Game 3 now heads to Dallas. The Oregon State Beavers saw their season come to a close with a 3-2 heartbreaking loss to Kentucky. Got to cover the plate. We work on this. The Oregon Ducks also saw their season come to a close after giving up 9 runs in the 7th inning, including a grand slam. They fell to Texas A&M 15-9. So Oregon State out. The Pac-12 out, done, finished, finito. That is a wrap on the Pac-12 conference. UConn and their head coach, Dan Hurley, is expected to make a decision on the Lakers later on today. Later on the big show, Travis Demers is going to be joining the show. But according to one NBA insider, if it is not Dan Hurley, new name has emerged in the Lakers coaching search. We talk about that right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Coming up in 20 minutes, we have got another fun-filled edition of Make or Miss. Coming up in about 45 minutes, stuff we saw on the internet. J-Lo and Ben Affleck getting divorced again. I thought
Could have called that one.
I thought the love was real this time. I really thought those two crazy kids were going to get it figured out. That's not going to be stuff we saw on the internet. I did see that on the internet, though.
Going back to A-Rod or no?
I don't think so.
Yes, I think she'll wait and see if he gets Timberwolves. Maybe he will.
Rough stretch for J-Lo. But yeah, Ben Affleck, like, again, I think Ben Affleck is a better actor than maybe he gets credit for. As good of an actor as he is, Brenden, he couldn't pretend like he was having a good time. He just looked like he was miserable every time he got his picture taken with J-Lo. It's like, there he is. He's got a coffee. He's smoking. It's like, God, I need a drink, but he doesn't drink anymore.
That's why I said I know Ben Affleck, like he had his moment where he kind of went through, a bit of a dark spell and came out of it and was back with J-Lo.
Yeah, the whole the nanny thing, right?
But it's like when you found, you go back to Ben Affleck around the brief time he was Batman. That's why it was brief. It was a not so great time for Mr. Affleck.
Is he the worst Batman?
Oh, by far. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And he even himself said, I wasn't really into the role. So
because every generation has their Batman, right? Christian Bale is your Batman.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton is my Batman. Yeah. I don't know if, and again, I love Val Kilmer. I don't know if Val Kilmer's anybody's Batman.
Could be. Don't want to hate on Val, man. He's got
no, but it really comes down to Michael Keaton or Christian Bale,
yeah,
and
I
then
think so.
Robert Pattinson gonna stick it out a little bit?
We'll see what the sequels bring. We'll see what they bring. The reason I think I love Christian Bale so much.
I don't like emo Batman. I don't like emo Bruce Wayne. I like rich, snooty, tuxedo-wearing Bruce Wayne.
Again, like we said earlier, it's a reimagination, Justin.
All right. Speaking of reimagination, the Lakers are going to have to maybe reimagine their coaching search if ultimately in the next couple of hours, Dan Hurley, I don't know how you let him leave the building. Do you know what I mean? Now, I have never sold cars, Brenden. I have never once attempted to sell cars, but I have bought a car a time or two in my life, and you can tell that whenever someone is trained in the art or the dark arts sometimes of selling cars, what's the rule? Don't let them leave. Don't let them leave, because once you leave the showroom, once you leave the lot, you're probably not coming back. And so you can always tell when you are buying a car, they're like, well, can we get you a coffee? Can we get you, hey, we got to go grab some, we got some food in the back. We never let them leave. Is this bad news to the Lakers that they let Dan Hurley leave?
No, I think it's more bad that
I was let's get a decision, Dan. Yeah, let's get this contract going right now. Don't let him leave.
I think it will happen. I think I look at it the other way. UConn shouldn't have even I mean, not like you could, but he should have never even. Once he got on the plane to go to L.A., it's kind of like, do you remember, Justin? And this is a real big throwback now. Do you remember? I believe it was summer 2016.
Okay, I remember where I was then.
When the crazy.
That was the summer of Justin. I had just been fired.
When the crazy.
I had a 3-month severance, and boy, I was living life.
Yeah, when the crazy sequence happened with DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah,
free agency.
Mark Cuban was driving around,
and he
denies that was ever the case. But
and the Clippers basically locked DeAndre Jordan in his house and said, "Yeah, we know you got a better offer from the Mavericks. You're not leaving." And I just wonder if
I thought wasn't it a thing where he locked himself in his house because he did not want Mark Cuban to come in because he didn't want to hear the offer, because if he heard the offer, he would have had to have taken it or something like that, right?
Well, he had agreed verbally to the 4-year, $80 million contract. Then because remember how in NBA free agency, everything that Woj tweets out on the first 2-3 days is just verbal agreement.
It's all
because nothing can be signed. So this is the only time it's happened. But I would be shocked if Dan Hurley's not a Laker today. From what I heard, Justin, it would be 8 years, over $100 million, which would make him one of the most. Right there.
Well, all right, so I was going to bring this up because there's another candidate. If not Dan Hurley, like you think about, is J.J. Redick a backup? I would imagine if I'm J.J. Redick, I'm like, I'm not anybody's backup. I still want, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm not the Dan Hurley 2.0.
Yeah, I mean, now maybe he's like, hey, it's the Lakers' job. I don't care. Sure, I'll be second choice.
A lot of people would probably
I'll be more than happy to do that. It was one of my – Dana Altman, love him, hate him, somewhere in the middle, had the best answer, because when he got hired as Oregon's head basketball coach, he was not their first choice. Tom Izzo was. As crazy and as nuts as it sounds, Oregon, speaking of hubris, like we talked about last hour, Oregon and Phil Knight thought, you know what, let's make a run. Make a run at Tom Izzo. Who knows?
Did you think about it?
I think he had to, because I think they offered him a lot of money.
So it was like
But then it was like, wait, no. I am going to the Final Four like every year. And Dana Altman was like, kind of like, and then the Oregon went after Jamie Dixon. Where's Jamie Dixon at now? Pitt? I think he was at Pitt then. TCU?
He is, yes,
TCU
head coach.
But Jamie Dixon was the hot name. He was at Pitt. And all of a sudden, Jamie Dixon got a very lucrative so they got down to Dana Altman. Dana Altman was their third choice after they'd fired Ernie Kent. And Dana Altman was like, turns out, made a pretty good choice, made a Final Four with Oregon, has been at Oregon ever since. But of course, I was at the press conference, right? The introductory press conference, and the question got brought up, right? Like, what is there any worry you were not their first choice? And Dana Altman, fully prepared for the question, said, take a look at my wife over there. I clearly wasn't her first choice, but it worked out. You know what I mean? A great answer. But I don't know if I'm J.J. Redick. Do I want to be like, he's been a backup guard for a good chunk of his career. Does he want to be another backup? Maybe he doesn't care. But if Dan Hurley goes back to UConn and J.J. Redick goes, I don't want any part of this circus, according to Mark Stein, who pretty good insider, right? He's got of all the NBA insiders, he is top tier, I would say. Mark Stein says, watch out for Jay Wright. Yeah. According to Mark Stein of the Stein Line, former Villanova head coach Jay Wright could be a stealth candidate for the Lakers opening. Says, although unclear how serious the Lakers' interest is, according to Mark Stein, I have been warned early on by one well-placed insider that for what it's worth, to stay ready in case former Villanova coach Jay Wright emerged as a stealth candidate. The backstory is sure to surface sooner rather than later, presumably soon after the Lakers do or do not land Hurley. So if they don't get Hurley and J.J. Redick, maybe J.J. Redick's not even on their radar.
Yeah, maybe it was just smoke.
It might have been, or maybe J.J. Redick is just LeBron's contribution, and the Lakers are like, yeah, we're hiring our own guy. So you mentioned the money. This is where I think it's tough for people like you and I, because I am incapable of not looking at this from a financial perspective. That amount of money for most people in our listening audience, and by the way, if it is not you, at Justin Myers Fire for One, we can have a chat on some investments. But For most of us, that is life-changing money, whatever they're offering. You got the number again off the top of your head?
They said it was rumored to be 8 years, over $100 million. So that would
Boom.
be about 12.5 per, which would set him right at the Monty Williams,
Yeah.
Greg Popovich, top level.
But for a guy like Dan Hurley, who is probably, I don't know if he could get close to that at UConn, but
No, that's
but Los Angeles, California, Storrs, Connecticut, right? I would imagine the $7 million he gets at Storrs, Connecticut goes an awful long way as opposed to the $12 million in Los Angeles.
Oh, he would probably get a new contract.
Definitely get a new contract.
But right now, Justin, he's 7th in college. Dan Hurley at $5 million a year. The leader in the clubhouse is Bill Self with his $9.4 million. So you go over.
So Dan Hurley, if he goes back to UConn, he's
paid.
If not the highest paid, he's going to be right around that $9 million. So I don't think he's going to make a decision based on money. $12 million in LA, $9 million in Storrs, Connecticut, right? As crazy as it sounds to you or I, that's negligible. You know what I mean? Nuts as it sounds, but the Jay Wright thing, this is, again, where I would have a tough time getting over the money part of this. If you're Jay Wright, you're just like, sure, I'll be your coach. You guys are going to fire me in a year and a half, pay me out. I go back to TV. And meanwhile, I'm just going to bank about $60 million. Now, that's not how he thinks, but.
Does a $20 million buyout bother the Lakers at all?
No.
Yeah.
No. What are the Lakers worth? Like $7 billion? Right?
He's probably got one of the bigger. It's true. They tried to safeguard. Like
the NBA money is dumber than college football money, right? Because how much of a deal did we make on Jimbo Fisher getting bought out for what? $70-some million? They paid him somewhere around there. How many run-of-the-mill?
77.
Boom, right there. How many run-of-the-mill NBA players are in the middle of a $70-some million contract right now? Not per year, but 77.
Yeah,
it is
less than it was a few years ago. Like a few years ago when you had the summer 16 bad contract, not just the Blazers, but everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, like when Timofey Mozgov was making like a $100 million contract.
So that's the NBA money we're talking about here. Like $20 million for a buyout.
But that would be very.
That's a ninth man on the bench.
Yeah.
Over 4 years, right?
And that would be but it's like just because he's around, and I think he did kind of, when he called it quits, Justin, I thought it was because of NIL and other things. I'd love to see Jay Wright back in coaching, but I think he enjoys retired life too. He's pretty good as a commentator. So I'm curious. That's intriguing.
But again, I go back to what I said last week, and I firmly believe this, and I don't know Jay Wright at all, but I firmly believe every coach in the back of their mind wonders, can I win an NBA championship?
And does the Lakers,
every single one, I don't care who you are, they all believe that.
And the Lakers, I assume, brings that up to another level.
Because you can. You have LeBron. I'm annoyed by LeBron. Do not deny his basketball ability, and Jay Wright knows more than anybody. I got LeBron. I got a shot. I got LeBron Anthony Davis. I got a chance. All right. We've got Make or Miss. That's coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 1 hour from now, hey, the voice of your Portland Trailblazers, friend of the program, Travis Demers is going to be joining the program. Probably, he might be in the drop-off line. I think this is the last week of school.
Well, I just did graduation, so school is done in my head. Justin.
Gotcha. Well,
but yeah,
I don't know what the.
I think it's got to be close though.
But he also has younger. I don't know if they're in school or not. But anyways,
it's got to be close.
Very pumped up to talk to Travis Demers coming up in hour number 3. Get his thoughts on what's going on with the NBA Finals. It may dive into some draft talk, but I mean, I had a couple of conversations this weekend with some friends of mine who are Blazer fans because, Brenden, I want to serve the people. I am here for all of you. It may sound like I'm just here trying to make myself laugh. I am. But I'm here to serve the people. And so every once in a while, I got to go out and I got to crowdsource. And I got to use my friends as crowdsourcing material. And I was like, hey, you're a Blazer fan. Do you care about this draft? And I got it. No. So I'm like, I want to serve the fan base. And if you are out there, if we are missing something, if we should be deep diving into these dudes from France and from Belgium and from UConn and Tennessee, right? Was it Klingon? And
Klingon would make a great Blazer.
Who's the guy from Tennessee?
Oh, Dalton Knecht.
Dalton. Is it Knecht or Connect?
Knecht, from what I had heard.
It should be Connect, though.
It does. Looks like Connect.
Sounds
bit,
better.
Right?
Connect. He should pull a Joe Theismann.
I'll tell you what.
Because you know the story of Joe Theismann, right?
Yes.
Because Joe Theismann, up until his senior year at Notre Dame, was Joe Theismann.
Yes.
He was Joe Theismann his entire life. His family name is Theismann. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's like, no. It's Theismann now. What a move. That doesn't get enough attention. That one day Joe Theismann was the quarterback at Notre Dame, and the next day he shows up and he says, it's Theismann. And everybody's like, oh, we thought it was Theismann this whole time. Our bad. And then people just went along with it.
So I think
and it just happened. They just went along with it. That is gutsy, I guess.
I think
I will say on the radio at 7:22 a.m.
I hear you. It's one of those things, Justin, where I think it depends on how the people around you receive it and whether you've got like the gravitas to pull it off. It's like Joe Theismann obviously was quarterback for a very good Washington team, right?
Notre Dame.
Oh, I meant
the Washington.
Yeah.
You're right, because we can't say what they used to be called.
Well, I'm sure you could, but I
choose not to.
I'm good. I'm
going to exercise caution.
Yeah, I'm good with jumping on that. But, to that point, Justin, it's like...
Technically, do we just say he played for the Commanders?
I heard something the other day where they looked at somebody historically and they used that team name on ESPN. So maybe when looking at it in a historical context, you can't say he didn't not play for that team. He didn't play for the Commanders. So I just say Washington. But
who did Albert Bell play for in the 1995 World Series?
Right.
Who did Jim Tomei?
Right.
Who did Jim Tomei play for?
So yeah, it's like you have to kind of weigh that. But regardless, for everyone at home that's trying to relate this to something they know, Justin, this is like the episode of The Office where when Andy came back from anger management, he goes, "Yeah, I'm Drew now."
I'm Drew now.
And Jim's like, "I'm not gonna call you that." So it's like, if Justin,
Dalton Connect should just be like, I'm Dalton Connect now.
Don't quote me on that for 100%. Devon Pouncey, our friend of the program, we'll be talking to him this week. Ask him because he's one of his favorite players in the draft. So we'll confirm with him. But I'm pretty sure
at least by next week, we should know. Because I'm not saying that this show in particular should be a resource to anyone deep diving into, but I feel like we should know how to pronounce his name. I feel like that's a responsibility. That one's on me. I'm going to put that one on me. Anywho, I was asking some friends this weekend. I was like, well, are you excited about the draft? Are you at all connected to the draft? And I was like, we're trying. It feels like it's like your duty as a fan. I don't know. Just feels Like
They don't even know who's going to go number 1 overall. So that should tell you where the draft is right now.
But shouldn't that be more exciting?
Kind of.
All right.
That's some intrigue. I'll give you that.
Hand up interest, though. Is it the fact that the number 1 overall pick will likely not be American-born college star player? Right? Football wins the draft every single year because you go into the football draft and you're like, I know who Caleb Williams is. I watched him play. I know, and I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm saying, it's a reality. Wemby, we all kind of knew, even though he was an international player. But, this is kind of the first time in a while where the number 1 overall pick, because Paolo was before that. We all knew, even though he only played 1 season at Duke, we all knew Paolo Banchero.
Let's see.
We knew that guy.
We knew Cade Cunningham was going to go number 1.
You knew Cade Cunningham. You knew
Anthony Edwards year before that.
Well, I think there's a lot of people lying about knowing Anthony Edwards. He was on a very bad Georgia team.
He was, but I still remember him being pretty consensusly this guy's probably going to go first.
Yes.
Zion the year before that, absolutely. DeAndre Ayton, was he locked in as the number 1 pick that year? I think so, if I remember correctly. He was kind of looked at as the next great center.
Yeah, because he was a star in college because the best player in that draft is Luka, right? And, unless you were a crazy basketball nerd, you didn't know who Luka Doncic was. You may have heard the name, but, we've been burned on these Euros before.
You have to go back to 2017 when it was Markelle and Lonzo first and second. And even those two were kind of locked in.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They were but they played college.
Well, they both
we
are
saw
American.
them play. And I'm not saying it's the best way to go about it, but that's where this draft is you have got is Klingon, I know that's not his name, but he's going to be the first, at least he's the top player who played in college last year?
Yes, because you've got
And he might go 5th?
Yeah, they say his floor is Portland at 7. The thing with Klingon that's kind of interesting is that he's obviously a big man. The teams drafting top 5 don't need a big man.
Yeah.
So watch that. We'll see. But he's really good.
I've heard that the Blazers kind of need everything and don't need anything. Somebody said that in a promo that's been running for a long, long, long time. I hear it every day too, gang. All right, let's get into Make or Miss. Here we go. Look, I don't want to be like ugly American, right? I don't, even though I do love America. Flag Day coming up, pumped up for that. 4th of July, pumped up for that. Adam Silver, he may be making money hand over fist internationally, but doesn't it kind of say something that, everybody talks about this draft, maybe just the talent level isn't there. Is it the fact that the talent level isn't there? Or, Brenden, is it the fact that the top players in the draft, we don't know who they are because they're not American college players?
Yes and no. I do think that,
I bet you if this draft, same amount of basketball ability, but you had some American college basketball players at the top, I think there'd be more intrigue.
Yeah, very much like Fentress said when we had him on last week, you're looking for the Giannis in this draft. And I do think that you're going to get through. And for example, the guy who's going to go first, most likely first overall. And now with, originally we thought it'd be Alex Sarr. Now it's looking like Zachary Risacher is probably going to go number 1 overall. And when you're looking at I've read a lot.
Who's that guy?
Another guy from France.
What are they doing in France, man? What's going on over there?
Play some good ball. But no,
is Team USA going to lose to France?
No, not this year.
Brenden, it's in Paris. They got the home court advantage.
Not with LeBron and those guys.
They've got.
I'd be shocked.
They're good though, right?
France is always good.
Weren't they the team that finished second to Team USA?
Yes,
didn't they beat us? They beat us.
They beat us once, yes.
Yeah,
and then they beat them later.
Are we going to lose to France this summer?
No.
With the
Olympic team.
who's going to be coaching the Olympic team? Is it Steve Kerr?
Yes.
Is he going to have the guts to tell LeBron you are too old? Sit your old butt down.
It's a good question.
Anthony Edwards is going to play the fourth quarter right now.
But yeah, no, that French team will be good again this year.
Going to lose to France.
But just the fact that you like, for instance, like you look at him being like now kind of the top pick in this draft, and I've read so many different draft people, and it's like the number one pick, right? And it's like pro comp Harrison Barnes. Mm-hmm. So when
that's what Fenter said last week.
Yeah, so when the top player in the draft is being pro comped to a role player in the NBA, that's where I take a step back and go,
all right, hear me out.
The ceilings are maybe just not there for a bit of the class.
Hear me out. Let me be a little bit of a contrarian and let me, at risk of sounding really stupid, welcome to the show. We do not do a very good job, especially in basketball, of comping European players to American-born players. We're good. There's also a racial element to it, but who do we always comp European players with other European players. So maybe the comps are off.
Could be.
Because we don't know how to comp these French fools. You know what I mean?
It's entirely possible.
Like, we just don't, like...
Yeah.
And it's like, everybody keeps saying, including myself, I'm not innocent here. Oh, you got to find the next Giannis. You got to find the next Jokic. Like, we keep mentioning, like, the year, like...
At this point,
maybe you got to find the next Dame.
The fact that they're... Yeah, so I'll tell you this. They will not draft a guard. I feel pretty confident saying they won't draft a guard.
I do not feel confident saying anything.
Now, that being said, it might be more of like a combo guard, but for them to draft a point guard, that would be really opposite of like, that'd be already saying you really don't believe in Scoot, in my opinion. Now,
listen, I'm all for the NBA getting the best possible players, but when you look at the draft, like, I firmly believe that the draft does not have any buzz, not because of the lack of talent. It's like, we don't know who these French guys are.
A big part of the draft.
And so why am I going to tune into the first round?
Right. Like,
they're hoping upon hope that the Lakers are stupid and draft Bronny James because there'll be something to talk about the next day. But it's like Adam Silver keeps talking about, hey, when he mentioned the in-season tournament, Brenden, what did he compare in-season tournament to? European soccer.
That's right. Yes.
Guess what he talked about with expanding the league? Where does he want to expand the league to? Canada and Europe. Maybe there's more money to be made out there, and maybe I'm just ugly American, but I don't know how much that's going to relate to TV ratings.
I mean,
with your new NBA TV deal.
It's true, and this is kind of like a half make or miss because I didn't have it written.
That being said, any of those big French dudes come here and delivers the Blazers a championship, I am all for it. Viva la France.
I have a firm belief that those the two great players will be off the board by the time Portland picks at 7. But, Justin, maybe just for, like, zag when everyone else zigs kind of a thing, maybe the Blazers should just see if they can draft Klingon with their 7th pick. Then at 14, go get Zach Edey and just go get 2 massive human beings and just be like, well, deal with it, NBA.
We do...
Just overdraft Edey. Why not?
We do some things. We paint with a lot of broad brushes in this world, and I don't think people mean to. But there was a long time, Brenden, where it was American-born white big men were persona non grata. Has Chet Holmgren really changed the? Has Chet Holmgren changed the mindset of like American-born white big men?
That helps
because if he like that. Because there was a long time, it was essentially like you do not draft American white big men.
Well, and the dude for Dallas is helping things out a lot too. The rookie, what's his name, Derek Lively, who's been playing super good.
But Chet's really changing the market a little bit. Because does Klingon even have a chance if Chet doesn't play well this last year? He's got a chance. But
for how obsessed the world's been over UConn, yes. Like, UConn has been, to your point, Justin, you want to look at the college players that are going to go in the top 10 in the NBA draft. 2 players from UConn, okay, America's team pretty much this year.
Yeah.
A couple players from Kentucky. Well, that's on brand. And then our boy, Necht Connect, whatever you say his name. So it's like, to your point, the NBA draft has just gotten to be so, like in what we said, I'll take it a step further. Like what we said with Pounce a couple months back, Justin, this is 2002. To Klingon and Edey not go 1-2 and then maybe Filipowski
If it's
3?
2002, Edey without a doubt goes number 1 overall. And it's not like the Hawks are fist pumping at the lottery.
Are they fielding?
To get a
they're
Zach
fielding
Edey.
calls. The top pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, maybe the Blazers just need to zig a little bit.
All right,
let's get into one make or miss.
Let's get one in there.
Yeah. Ooh, we didn't get a chance to talk about this last week. The NBA will expand by at least 2 teams within the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's a make. And I hear what Adam Silver is doing. Like, don't count your chickens. They're going to Seattle and Vegas.
So who moves to the East? Let's do that for the last couple minutes of make or miss.
Memphis. Memphis goes to the East. They should be in the East. Like Memphis moves to the East.
That's one. The other one's hard. The other one's kind of hard. You don't know who to move. San Antonio? Texas team?
Houston.
Okay.
Houston. I think that's geographically. Wait.
Yeah, you're right. Houston's on the
coast.
Wait.
New Orleans?
Technically, you're right.
So New Orleans goes.
So New Orleans
and Memphis.
Pack your bags.
Congratulations. You're going to the East. Good luck beating the Celtics the next 4 years. Yeah. That's who goes. You take Memphis and New Orleans because they're also like packaged, like they're right there.
Yeah, we threw
in the South.
We threw out East. We threw out a bunch of names on. I'm just curious, Justin. You give me one city. Let's each come up with one city on the fly. One city that's not Vegas or Seattle that would intrigue you. I think I know where you're going, but say it anyway. Just intrigue you.
Intrigue? I mean, Nashville. Yeah, Nashville. Austin would be another one, but Austin's not. Texas ain't getting another team. I think plus. I know that Seattle had a team and University of Washington's right there, but I don't know if the NBA really wants to go into a place where the University of Texas pretty much runs the entire show. But it's Nashville.
I would have said
they got an arena. It's growing hand over fist.
All the reasons you said for Austin too. I think it would be cool, but it's very much UT. Bring a team back to San Diego just to spite old D. Sterling and the Clippers.
Where are they going to play though?
Yeah, that's a problem.
They gotta play somewhere.
That's a problem.
They can play outside. It's beautiful there. Because it'd be hilarious to put a team in San Diego and they're like, look, the weather is here perfect. We are going to have one NBA team and they're going to play outside.
Put them on the deck of the aircraft carrier again, Justin.
No, on the aircraft. But like, wouldn't that be
kind of cool?
As nuts as it sounds, right? We do that in baseball. Like, oh, you play inside some days, you play outside some days. We do it in football. Wouldn't it be hilarious if we're going to expand the league. We're going to expand the league to San Diego. San Diego, it never rains. The weather is beautiful. We're playing outside. You get one outdoor game or 2 or 3 every single year.
I was halfway kidding, Justin, but why couldn't you in San Diego get one of those retired aircraft carriers? Just play outside, man.
Well, I mean, fans are going to be tough.
Yeah, well,
it's going to be tough to get fans.
That's a good point.
But wouldn't that be cool? Like you build like a big old,
like
the tennis center, like those big old tennis centers, like you see at the U.S. Open. You just build one of those, and you play it outside. I think we're doing some things. Adam Silver has a better idea than going to Europe.
Way better,
I believe. All right, you know what's a really good idea? Stuff we saw on the internet to wrap up hour number 1 or hour number 2. We're cruising on a Monday. That's next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up hour number 2. Tomorrow, we have got Get Off My Lawn. I've already prepared my Get Off My Lawn grumpy old man take, but that's going to be coming up tomorrow. Today, we got to talk about this. We call this segment Stuff We Saw on the Internet, and this one hits a little close to home, and maybe in more ways than one. I'm very, very curious to see, Brenden, if this story impacts you or your life in any way, shape, or form, because I don't know if you saw the footage from the Sisters Rodeo over the weekend, but apparently at the Sisters Rodeo, which I've never been to, but it's on my list of things to do in the great state of Oregon.
You've been to St. Paul, right?
I have not been to St. Paul either. I have been to the Eugene Pro Rodeo.
You got to get to St. Paul before you get to Sisters.
The wife loves Sisters.
Well,
it's her favorite.
St. Paul's the best one in the state, and I stand by that.
I'm just talking about the town. The wife. Either way, both were on my bucket. We're on my list. They better rethink the fencing or something going on, because a bull named Party Bus coming at a shoot for on a bull named Party Bus.
Are we sure?
Brenden, Party Bus got out, and he had a bit of a party, and they had this poor lady just standing there drinking a Coors Banquet gets upended by old Party Bus. Now, the whole chaotic thing only lasted, I think, about 20 seconds before the bull went back to the pen area, the livestock area. It was corralled, but they say bull in a china shop. Bull in a beer garden can do some damage. And boy, did old Party Bus do some damage. And 4 people injured, 3 taken to the hospital. Now, none with life-threatening injuries. And wish them all the best, and glad that nobody was seriously, tragically hurt. But
can we confirm that the bull wasn't named Fu Manchu?
No, I think that bull's dead.
Oh, God.
That's an old song.
Classic.
I don't know how old
right?
bulls live, but I don't think that bull's with us anymore.
Classic.
But
no, the video was insane, Justin.
So you go to the St. Paul Rodeo every single year.
I do.
Are you going this 4th of July?
The last 3 years, I have found out the greatest thing to do, which is to go to the rodeo grounds but not have a ticket and just spend the whole time in the beer garden.
Yeah, well, okay. That's perfect.
So we're St. Paul's.
These people were sitting in the beer garden. They might not have had a ticket either. What happens to you if you're sitting there enjoying your Coors Light and...
Yeah, that's not the beer garden. That's like the general admission area. Beer garden is usually hidden.
But I'm looking. There's the beer signs and.
Well, you can drink beer there, but the true.
That's awesome. Yeah,
true beer garden. There's 3 of them at St. Paul, and they're kind of all strategically in different spots.
Oh, but let's just say, because now anything's possible. Brenden, this bull. They're lucky that the bull took a right instead of a left. That bull could have went anywhere. It could be going. It could be down at. What's the one ice cream place there in Sisters? Freeze Top? Something like
Tasty? Is it Tasty Freeze?
Something like that.
Yes.
It could be there.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It would not dissuade me from going to the old rodeo.
I'm just saying, do you think this year you're going to have maybe your head on a swivel a little bit? Just like, hey, do not turn your back.
No, because I'll be honest with you, Justin. Especially this year, where when I go there is going to be in the stretch of when you and I have about 4 days off for this particular time. Crush a lot of Coors Lights.
I'm just saying, when you come back with your arm in a sling, I'm going to know what happened. I'm going to know you didn't keep your head on a swivel, and maybe. And I don't know where if the bulls that are there at Sisters are the same bulls that they bring to St. Paul.
I'm sure they probably are, man.
Party Bus might be there.
Although this bull. I don't know how to say this kindly. This bull might be retired.
I don't think so.
You get what I'm saying, or just.
I mean, okay, that's ridiculous if it is, because a bull was doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing.
I'm no expert. I just said might. Did anyone get hurt?
3 people went to the hospital.
Yeah,
3 people went to the hospital. Have you seen the video?
Oh yeah, no, I've watched it.
Do you see the poor ladies just standing there, well, I guess probably panic set in, because I'm like. I watched the video. I've watched this video 50 times.
Oh yeah, no,
I've watched this video 50 times. I don't know what I would do. I would probably panic and freeze. What do you think you would do? You're going to the
If I'm in the
you are going
stands.
to the rodeo in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, you are going to be at a rodeo. You're there, and let's just say your buddy comes up and say, "Hey, Brenden, guess what? I found an old friend of mine. He got us VIP. We're going to the VIP. I'm sure they have a VIP there. Out of this regular Joe Schmo beer garden, we're going to the VIP, and you're there. And let's just hit the VIP. They got vodka Red Bulls, probably.
No, I
That's
remember
a missed opportunity if you are at a rodeo and do not have vodka Red Bulls.
They go vodka Monster, which is not it, but it's a small.
Because they got bulls in a rodeo, you need a Red Bull.
I agree.
Anyways, that's a missed opportunity. Anywho, let's just say you're there. You're at all of a sudden old party bus leaps the fence again. Do you try to run away? I would freeze. If I know myself, I think I would freeze. Because that's what it looked like happened to this poor woman. This poor woman was just standing, I think, because again, if you watch the video, they are away from the grandstands, right? Because the bull riding's going on. I believe Lee Greenwood was playing, by the way. Ain't no doubt I love this land. Lee Greenwood's playing. Everybody's got everybody's got their phone flashlights up. Like, it's a moment. It's the stars and stripes forever. It's just, and all of a sudden, old party bus decides he's going to change the party a little bit. And this poor lady's just sitting there talking. Do you think there was is that a bull over there? Nah. Oh. Because who expects a bull to be back in the hospitality department, hospitality portion?
Yeah, I'd either find my way into a bathroom really quickly, jump.
I don't know if you get there that fast.
I mean, it's like, I'm envisioning.
I heard the PA guy said, "Get to high ground."
Oh yeah, like you're
Which
so.
I get it.
Like, yeah, like, I don't know.
I would freeze.
Maybe Sister's a bit different, but like St. Paul, like, it's such an old, like, rodeo type building that it's all housed in that, like, when you walk into the rodeo, you're like closer than me to Justin with only like wood in between you and like bulls anyway when they come into the. So I remember always being like, wow, you can like be like at almost arm's length away. So I think you kind of just got to know crazy stuff can happen when you go to a rodeo.
Well,
as crazy as that sounds.
And
comes with the territory, Justin.
They're just standing there talking.
Justin's just fascinated.
Again, and this is not a blame because everybody wants to think they would do something different, but like it doesn't look like they even realize that. Do they think that maybe it's a friendly bull? Like,
are there such things as friendly bulls?
Well,
there's
cows.
friendly cows.
Friendly cows?
Not if they have a horn and other things.
Well, there's a whole reason why said bull. Like,
I know.
You know about rodeo.
So
there's a reason why they jump.
Which
it's
is
not
kind of a
a
whole
natural
different issue, but
phenomenon. But maybe they thought it was just a cow. But it certainly does not look like this group of people are all that concerned until the bull puts her halfway to Lapine.
Yeah, no, it was that. It does not look like there's enough concern. Like, it's like, look, a calf. Oh, no, wait.
But again, I don't want to make fun because I think I would be doing the same thing. When in your life, if you're at a rodeo, do you think at the beer garden or wherever they're at, or at the concession stand area, you're like, I've got my nachos and I've got my Coors. Is that a bull? And then I'm upside down. Halfway out the door. Stuff we saw on the internet. Hey, hopefully they'll get rid. What a story to tell. What a story to tell. We have got another story to tell. Hour number 3, next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA Finals Game 2 last night saw the Boston Celtics take down the Dallas Mavericks 105-98. They now have a 2-0 lead in the series. Oregon State's season came to an end after a 3-2 loss to Kentucky in the Super Regionals in Lexington. Oregon's season also came to an end a few hours earlier after falling to Texas A&M 15-9. With both losses, it concludes the Pac-12 conference as the Conference of Champions is no more. UConn head coach Dan Hurley expected to make his decision on the Lakers later today, saying that the Lakers made an intriguing offer. Also, according to Mark Stein of the Stein Line, former Villanova coach Jay Wright emerging as a potential sleeper candidate if Dan Hurley decides to pass on the Lakers. Travis Demers is going to be joining us in 20 minutes. Hour 3 of RCM starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. As I mentioned in the update, you just heard me say it. Voice of the Blazers, Travis Demers, is going to be joining us in about 20 minutes. We do have an RCM mailbag. Later on this afternoon, you will hear Rip City Drive. Chad, I think, still on his New York vacation. Did you see Chad Doing's tweet from the steakhouse he was at? Now, I'm curious I want to know what Chad ate at said steakhouse, because Chad Doing he is the only person I have ever met, Brenden, who is more weird about food than I am. And when I say weird, I don't find it at all weird. People in my life do. Is that normally Sunday through Friday, I generally eat the same thing all day, every day. Now, a lot of people might find that a little bit weird. I find my routine comforting, but I've got my Cliff Bar that I have right after we do on campus. I go home, I have the same breakfast. I might vary my protein, but for the most part, I will eat chicken or I will eat beef and I will have steamed vegetables. And I have that every day. Football season, I get a little fast and loose. But a lot of people find that very, very weird, that I eat the same thing every single day. I find it comforting. It's one less thing I have to think about, one less thing I have to decide upon. Already decided for me. Dinner is prepped and ready to go. There's only one person I think more particular about their food. Not young Brenden. No, it's Chad Doing. Brenden, he counts his calories out, like to where he knows exactly his caloric intake per day. Now, he was in New York at this big fancy pants steakhouse. I want to know if he went caution to the wind and actually did have said steak. But his co-host on Rip City Drive, Dwight James, is going to be on later on this afternoon, I think with Chris Burkhardt. But Dwight put something interesting on Twitter earlier this morning, and it kind of goes what we were talking about with the draft a little bit. Dwight James of Rip City Drive throughout. NBA has been marketing its game on an individual basis for decades. Bird Magic, Clyde MJ, Kobe LeBron. I added the Kobe LeBron. That's why a lot of people just don't know how to deal with old-fashioned, unselfish team like Boston that is handling Dallas and its two superstars. I think he might have a point here. I know. Like, I agree with him. It has always been the way in the NBA, right? Star power matters. And for the most part, I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are stars, but they don't get the same kind of run as like Anthony Edwards gets or the guys on the Clippers, right? Kawhi. Brenden, do you think we will look, if in fact the Celtics go on to win this 1 in 5, do you think we're going to all of a sudden look, does Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, do they become different players in the eyes of NBA fans? Because We do that a lot in the finals. Like rings and championships matter. And I think there was a lot of people who believed before Kawhi Leonard won the NBA Finals MVP for the Spurs, like, oh, that guy's a good player. But when he won the finals, because he's not exactly an extrovert. Do you know what I mean? Has a funny, weird laugh. But I nailed that one. But he's not an extrovert. And then he wins the NBA Finals. Boom, all of a sudden, Kawhi's a top player in the league. And then it even went to another level when he won it in Toronto. Is the hesitation on Jason Tatum because he's not an extrovert, or is it because he kind of hasn't had that championship moment? I'm curious. Because if you were to ask, I think, average Joe sports fan, like, give me the top 10 players in the league. I don't know if Jason Tatum's on that list. Average Joe sports fan. They would be incorrect. He is. But I don't know if, average guy in, in Pittsburgh between, looking up, Steelers OTA participation stuff and Penguins hockey, like, would they put Jason Tatum like top 10 player in the league? He should be. He is. But I don't know if average Joe sports, I guess I should just say football fan is what I'm saying.
You called for it, so.
I kind of nailed it.
You did. That was like, it was so good.
That was pretty good.
I had to give you your flowers, man. That was good. But no, I mean, I think.
Could you imagine being Kawhi Leonard's friend and just be like, guys, we can't make him laugh anymore. We can't.
Yeah, it's bad.
I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name names. Brenden, I shall not name names. I had a friend who had a girlfriend, a serious girlfriend. Her laugh was so bad, we were like, we can't be funny around her. Now, I think I'm socially funny. I'm far from a stand-up comedian, but I think I'm socially funny. And you know how, like, when you get around with the boys and you start throwing out inside jokes, Brenden, it was so bad. We had to be like, we can't joke around anymore. That's happened. I wonder if Kawhi Leonard has friends like that. We're like, dude, we can't joke around with Kawhi anymore.
Yeah,
he's doing that laugh.
Yeah, I could see it, man. I really could.
But you know what I mean? Does Joe Six-Pack football fan, right? Does he know Jason Tatum's the top 10 player in the league? I don't think he does. I don't think he does.
Depends on where you are. I think here on the West Coast, we see the Celtics a lot less than most, right? I mean,
I think just kind of everywhere, though. Unless, obviously not Boston and probably not New York, but even if you were like, does SEC football guy, does he know that Jason Tatum's a top 10 player in the league? Probably not. Is this a marketing thing? Is this you get your rings and then you get your ring and then you get your flowers? Because he's on commercials, right? He's got some flaming hot ruffles or whatever he's got. But he seems to be the quietest superstar in the NBA, and it goes back to kind of what Dwight was saying in his tweet. It's like the NBA has made its space in the professional sports world off of marketing individual players. That's how the league has always worked. The last great unmarketable player, Tim Duncan? Because the NBA couldn't, like, they didn't, kind of what Dwight said in the tweet, like, the NBA doesn't seem to know what to do with the Celtics. And the NBA, vis-a-vis the media, all of us doofuses, like, the Spurs were kind of the last team like this, right? Where we assumed they were good. We knew Tim Duncan was, at one point, Tim Duncan was the best player in the NBA. He was. Even with Shaq and Kobe and young LeBron, like, there was a time, like, Tim Duncan was the best player in the NBA. But nobody knew how to market that guy.
Nowadays, Justin, how would we feel about a 7-footer averaging in a different time 26, 13, and 5?
Mm-hmm.
Right? He'd be
and
up
it was
there.
a different, because, again, the reason why his assist numbers were down is because back then you played with your back to the basket.
Yeah,
as a big man, as a 7-footer, you got the ball. Guess what? You're not going to pass it.
But remember, Justin, he was a power forward.
He was a center. But anyways, Did Tim Duncan create positionless basketball?
I think LeBron was a big part of it. LeBron's played all 5 positions in his career. Giannis has played all 5 positions in his career now. We're just starting
Duncan was kind of one of the first, though.
He was, yeah. I mean, like Anthony Davis is another guy where it's like you started getting these guys later who are like Anthony Davis, where they're like, oh, yeah, my freshman year of high school, I was only 6'5". I was point guard. Then it was,
well, and that's the European thing, too, right? Because the European model is...
Everybody learns to dribble.
Especially if you are tall. If you are tall, European coaches go like, get the basketball in his hands. Meanwhile, like everybody in America who grew up playing basketball in middle school knew like who the tallest kid in their school was because he went down to the block and got the ball with his back to the basket. But it is interesting because the Celtics, this should be a huge story, right? The Celtics kind of returned to glory. You've got a young group of playing fundamental basketball. And we have said as fans, right, in the NBA, we don't want super teams anymore. Blech, we're sick of them. We're sick of these super teams. Well, there you go. You get the Boston Celtics. Well, we want a little super with our teams, just not so much super. Do you know what I mean? We can handle a big 2, big 3. That's too much. I'm very curious to see what if the Celtics, which it looks like they will, but who knows? Maybe the Mavericks come back at home. I'm curious to see what happens to like the career of Jason Tatum because we've seen it. Kawhi Leonard, and again, I always forget that he had that one NBA Finals. Was it 2009? Or 14? When did he win the NBA Finals MVP with the Spurs?
Duncan?
No. Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi, 14. Yeah, sorry.
It's 14. That one always escapes me.
It does. It's a little bit of a sneaky one.
But Kawhi in 19, after the Raptors won the NBA Finals, and Curry was hurt. Well, he got hurt early the next year, but
Durant was the first.
Durant was hurt. Clay was hurt.
Clay pops the ACL.
There was a lot of people who might have said, I think Kawhi Leonard might be the best player in the NBA.
Yeah, he was. There was a case he could, when he even signed the deal with the Clippers, that was... And, as we've learned, the best availability is availability.
But what I'm saying is he won the NBA Finals. He got anointed best player in the NBA for a lot of people. COVID, weirdness. Moving beyond. Giannis wins the finals. What did we say? Giannis is the best player in the NBA. Giannis is the best. 2 years later, Jokic wins. Last year, Jokic is the best player in the world. Are we going to say that about Jason Tatum if they win? Or are we going to say that about Jaylen Brown? Are we going to pull a zigzag here where it's like everybody thinks that it's Tatum, but really, because Jaylen Brown might be on his way to winning NBA Finals MVP.
Can you say...
He certainly looks the best these last 2 games, but that's because they play a team basketball game where they're like, yeah, you're being defended. There's an open guy, and he can knock down a shot.
Even if they win, Justin, I'm not sure you could convince me that those 2 guys are the best. Are they top 5, top 10? Absolutely. But the best? That's tough.
But is that actual or is that marketing? I don't know. It's fascinating. You know, it's also fascinating. Travis Demers, he joins us next, 620 Rip City Radio. By the way, speaking of Nirvana, watched a Netflix documentary over the weekend about a early 90s Seattle bank robber. It's pretty good. I don't know what it is, whether it's, and mostly it's movies. Whether you watch like Ocean's 11 or watch Heat, or we always root for the bank robbers, don't we? Like, we always root for the bank. And I'm watching this documentary going like, well, and I shouldn't. I disavow robbery. We disavow it. But I watch these documentaries and I start thinking of like, how would I get away if I robbed a bank? I'm not robbing a bank. I'd be the worst because I'm just talking about it on the air. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, just in my brain, I start thinking, wait, how would I get away with it? One guy who would never rob a bank, never, is our next guest. He is the voice of your Portland Trailblazers. He is a friend of the program, former member of the program. Travis Demers back on the Big Show. Good morning, Trav. How we doing?
I'm good, man. I mean, you could always go, Dog Day Afternoon, Al Pacino, and Don Cazale, and just hold everybody hostage.
I mean, once you get to the point, like, because I've watched a lot of movies, and again, obviously movies are exactly like real life, right? That's why we watch them. But yeah, once you get to the hostage part, you're kind of in trouble, unless you're like Inside Man. Which, if I don't know if you've seen Inside Man.
I was just thinking that.
That Inside Man, they pulled it off. Like, how did they pull off the hostage thing? It's like, that's how you pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, it was the perfect, the perfect solution. You just hide out and you get away with it.
All right, question for you, as someone, because while we are incredibly lucky to be able to do what we do for a living and we love what we do, it is still, in fact, a job. And sometimes, topics that come up on the talk show are, it's a little bit like, I got to do a job here. When you watch basketball, Trav, when you're watching these playoffs, do you watch it like you're calling the game? Can you switch off the play-by-play mode? How do you watch the games?
It's interesting. I mean, yes, I can. I can watch it as a fan, especially because I'm watching it with, my 6-year-old, and he's talking throughout most of it. So it's kind of hard to watch it in play-by-play mode. But, there are things that I think about, like, that my brain just goes to, like doing the math for runs in my head and things like that. My brain is still kind of watching the game in the same way, but not that I feel like I need to, say everything that's happening, because that would drive me nuts.
You have to tell the kids, like, listen, we don't talk over the play-by-play, okay? You got to wait till there's a break in the action. Maybe provide your analyst.
Yeah, good luck with that.
We were talking about this earlier with regard to the Boston Celtics. It seems like this run for the Celtics is a little bit meh. Part of it is because of injuries to their opponents, but like part of it is just they've been so good, and the way that they've kind of systematically through the regular season and then now into the playoffs and now into the finals have just kind of not really been pushed at all. What are you seeing from the Celtics that like is just, it seems to be a different type of NBA team than we've seen in a while, right? Obviously had Jokic and the Nuggets last year running it through the big man, and obviously had the last run of the Golden State Warriors. What is it that these Celtics are doing, Demers?
Well, I mean, they're doing a lot of things, and they're doing a lot of things differently. In Game 1, they were hitting threes, right? They made 16 threes in Game 1, and, they started running away with it early, and they had a big enough lead where when Dallas started to come back, that just, wasn't enough. Last night, they weren't hitting threes, right? So, they missed their first 8 in the game, and, Dallas had the lead, and then they're going back and forth for a while, and then they eventually pull away. Well, they pulled away when they started making some threes late, but their defense has been so good. And, Porzingis coming back has made such a big impact. But, you watch, the struggles that Kyrie Irving has getting to the rim and doing the things that he does. He still is able to do it sometimes, but he's under so much more pressure now than he was in any other series. Because you look at the number of guys that can defend him, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, they can all defend him. And then you still have somebody like Porzingis when he's out there, back near the rim. They're just not making it easy. And I know Luka had a triple-double last night. They were getting the lobs to the rim. They were getting the ball into the paint. That was going to be a big adjustment, but there just wasn't enough scoring outside him again. And Boston's defense is just, kind of taking over at times.
Travis Demers, the voice of your Portland Trailblazers, also a friend of the program, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Travis, we were talking about, again, with the Celtics. And again, I don't want to write off the finals because they've won 2 games at home, and who knows, the Mavericks might bounce back and win a couple more games, and we get a series, which I very much hope so. But what the history has shown us, at least recent history of what the Celtics have done this year, probably not. But it's interesting because you've got 2 guys in Brown and Tatum who are incredibly good. And I think when Tatum is at his best, he is at least a top 10, maybe even a top 5 player in the NBA. But if you were to ask, I think like average Joe sports fan, list the 5 or 10 best players in the NBA, I don't know if he makes that list. Do you think if in fact those Celtics win it, do you think Tatum's career kind of changes and he becomes maybe a more marketable superstar, or is he just kind of one of those personalities? I kind of likened him to Tim Duncan, where everybody knew Tim Duncan was the best player in the league for a good chunk of time. Just he was never a big marketing darling.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at, across sports at players that, never won anything, and then they finally won something, and all of a sudden they're big, marketing guys. And look at Matt Stafford, right? And nobody cared about him. Then he wins a Super Bowl, and he's in all kinds of commercials, even though people can still probably, unless you're a big football fan and follow it like we do, a lot of people still don't know who he is. So I think there is an element of that with him. I don't think if Jason Tatum, and the Celtics win the finals, that all of a sudden he's going to be this marketing darling. I don't see that at all. You look at the last few years of the Celtics, and they've been really good, but has his star power been, the reason that people look at that? You got Tatum and Brown. Now you add in Porzingis, and you add in all of the other pieces that they've had for their team to be as good as they have been this year. And I wouldn't take anything away from Jason Tatum, but I don't think it helps his legacy, sure, but I don't think it's going to all of a sudden make him this marketable star.
The other big thing going on in the NBA, and we'll talk some draft coming up here in a moment. You can fill me in on all these French guys. By the way, what's going on in France? How'd they figure this out?
That's a great question. I don't know. 7'3" helps.
It's out of nowhere. All the tall people just went to France. It's crazy. But the Lakers head coaching search, which has provided us with an awful lot of stuff to talk about, which I very much enjoy. I've never sold cars, Trav. I don't know if you've ever in your wheelings and dealings in this radio world where we have to pick up extra jobs, have ever sold cars. But I've bought a car a time or two, and they never want to let you off the lot. You know what I mean? Did the Lakers screw up letting Dan Hurley out of the building? How did they let him out of the building to let him go back and think about it a little bit?
Yeah, in that kind of situation, you can't pressure him. I don't think it was the right hire anyway. So, no, I don't.
Okay.
I've never sold cars, but I don't let him off the lot. Everybody looks at it differently, right? And I'm not interviewing him. I don't see what he's going to do with the Lakers. But, I look at what Dan Hurley has done in college, and he's a great coach, and he's a great motivator. But where he's had the most success is team and buy-in and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And number one, the Lakers just don't have the talent. And are you telling me that LeBron James is going to buy into that type of game and Anthony Davis is going to buy into that? I just don't see it. And how many great college coaches, and Dan Hurley is a great college coach, have had that kind of success at the next level, right? We've seen Larry Brown do it, but, all of these guys that have tried to come over, Beeline most recently, and I don't know if I would call him a great college coach, but Calipari, Patino, they didn't have success at that next level. So I don't think it's that bad. Actually, I think it's a blessing in disguise for the Lakers that he got out of the building and had a chance to think about it, because I don't think that's the right hire for them.
Credit to super producer Brenden. He came up with this stat last week, Travis.
Yeah.
Coaches going directly from college to the NBA with a winning record overall in the NBA, there's 2. It's Brad Stevens.
Billy Donovan.
And Billy Donovan, yeah. It's because we always forget about. I don't know about you. I always kind of forget about. Oh yeah, that's right. Brad Stevens was the head coach at Butler. They were going to be the next Gonzaga, and then he took over. You got two. So to your point, like you mentioned, the college to NBA thing. We talk about former players. Obviously, the Blazers have got Chauncey Billups, and you see what Jason Kidd's doing in the finals right now. We have a lot of talk about former players, and a lot of that came up with JJ Redick. But there's way more success with former players as head coaches than if you look back at college coaches turning pro.
Yeah, sure. But you also have to think about the jobs that those guys took over, right? When Pitino first came in, he took over a Knicks team in the 80s that wasn't very good. And then he took over a Celtics team that was pretty good, but just not good enough to go anywhere. Calipari took over the Nets in the 90s, who were just, total garbage. Beeline comes into Cleveland in a situation that's not a winning situation. Billy Donovan comes into Oklahoma City, and they have Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and a team that's pretty darn good. And they get to the Western Conference Finals and had a 3-1 lead against Golden State. They had a great team. If whoever comes in, whether it's Dan Hurley or Bobby Hurley or whoever coming into this Lakers team, yeah, they've got LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but they don't have a team that's a championship-level team. So, I mean, yes, the coaches matter. Of course they do. But the players matter a little more.
Well, and also, you go back to, like you said it earlier, Travis Demers joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio about, what has been Dan Hurley's success? It's team, it's buy-in, but also if you watch any of UConn, from October and like the November feast week all the way up until the Final Four, Trav, this guy is living and dying on every possession and ready to fight everybody on every possession. You can't do that for 82 regular season games in the NBA and expect to not be just completely wasted by Valentine's Day.
Yeah, or have a heart attack or something. Because you're right. That's exactly how he is, and that's his personality, and that's great. 40 games in college, where you're getting a high concentration of the beginning of the end of the season versus 82 games. I don't think that's sustainable for any human.
All right, so we got the draft coming up in, a couple of weeks and a couple of days. And so a lot of people are throwing this out, Trav, and I'll hand up and I'll confess. I watch college basketball in March. I watch Oregon basketball from probably February after football season. So I am not in, deep into the depths of this draft and the players coming into this draft. And I'll be honest, I don't watch any European basketball at all. But everybody that is smart about basketball, at least that I think is smart, is saying, this is a down draft. There's not a lot of talent in this draft. There's not a lot of dynamic players in this draft. Do you think that's the case, or do you think maybe we're at the place where we just don't know and aren't familiar with a lot of players in this draft? Because, as I mentioned, 3 of them are French, a lot of European guys. There's a lot of different avenues to come in outside of college. Do you buy in that this is going to be a down draft talent-wise, or do you think this is just an unfamiliar draft?
Well, it's definitely an unfamiliar draft, and it's the most unfamiliar draft that I've ever seen.
It's
for
insane.
For me, because usually I'm super dialed in. This year I'm just not, for a number of reasons. But while you and I aren't as dialed in, the fans aren't as dialed in. Although you ask some fans and they know everything about all the prospects as it is. But I don't think that the quote experts, the people that are scouting this, I don't think they're not dialed in. I don't think it's unfamiliar to them, and they're the ones who are saying that this is a down draft. So I don't think you have the top end talent in this draft for sure. And I think any of probably the top 5 guys who were picked last year would go number 1 this year. There's also this element of huge upside, high ceiling but really low floor for a lot of these guys. So we look at somebody like Montes Buzelis, and this shows how dialed in I was. I didn't know that he was an American-born player, right? So, I mean, he's Lithuanian and he's got a foreign name, but he was born and raised in Chicago. And until I started to dive into these guys, that I just didn't know that about him. So I just assumed he was a foreign player, but he's not. But he's also 19 years old, and a lot of these guys are super young. And somebody like
we were right there. We were rolling too.
Floor there too. So.
All right, we got a little bit of maybe Brenden, maybe pick up the line and see if we can't have Trav move to like a different corner of the Demers estate to see if we can't maybe clean up that. Are we back? Okay, there we go. Trav, you were cooking, and then of course the cell phone universe decided to play some full court press on you?
I should probably just stay in one place. But so basically, like there's a lot of guys that have a high ceiling and a low floor, and they're all kind of in that same ballpark. And it's a crapshoot right now. So for a team like the Blazers, who has 2 picks in the top 14, I don't know what direction they're leaning. I have no inside knowledge on that. I don't know what exactly they're going to look for, but it would make sense to take with one of those picks, either one player that's pretty safe and one player that is a high risk, high reward guy. So there's just a lot of that. And really, I've seen a couple of the workouts. I've seen a couple of the guys go through some things. And there's some reports about some workouts coming up. I'm going to try and get to a couple of more just so I can see them with my own eyes. But it's just there's so many unknowns unless you're really dialed in it. And I'm not going to make any predictions of who they're going to draft or who I want them to draft because I just don't know enough about all the guys.
Well, here's the thing, Trav. You're smart, and you understand this, and you look back, and you've been through how many drafts now where you, like, I don't know about you. I've had a lot of drafts where I was like, this is a terrible pick. Turned out it was an awesome pick. Or that this is an unbelievable pick, and then it didn't work out. We've seen enough, and, trying to tell the kids that is a tough thing, especially the kids on the internet. Because I don't know if you know this. They ain't listening. They ain't listening to us on the internet.
No, they're not. I've definitely noticed that. But it's funny, like I've seen these posts where it's okay, if the Blazers draft this guy, how will you feel? And you get fans that'll come in and say, this guy would be terrible for us. There's no way I would quit being a fan. And other people say, we have to draft this guy. He's the guy for our future, like for the same player. And I guess that's just how it's always been. But I have no idea. And the other part of that too is like, if you draft one of these guys that are, high risk, high reward, it's going to be a good year or two or maybe longer before we know if it was a good pick or not.
Well, and that was the other thing, and we'll kind of end it on this. Travis Demers, the voice of your Portland Trail Blazers, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. I talked about it when the lottery hit, and everybody started freaking out and crying into their cornflakes about being picked number 7. And I get it, right? With the you and nobody knows more about day-to-day watching the Blazers than you because you watch every second of every game and call them. And I get that there was a disappointment that they went backwards in the lottery instead of going forwards, but, I mean, just look at who is starring in the NBA. Yeah, there's a lot of top 3 and number 1 overalls, but there's also some 15s, some 11s, some 7s. So, they're all over the place in terms of talent, and you got to get a little bit lucky. You got to be prepared at the right time, and just that's why the draft is so nuts, is because it's not an equation. You can't just do A plus B. It's a bit of a roll of the dice, but that doesn't make for good radio topics, though.
No, but it's true. I mean, you think of the players that have been high picks that have not panned out. There are a billion of them. I mean, whether it's somebody like Lonzo Ball who's been hurt, or a Marvin Williams or a Derek Williams, or any of these guys, like, oh, we've got the right pick right here, and they could also turn into role players. So just because you have a top pick, unless you've got a Wemby or somebody like that has almost zero chance to fail if they stay healthy, is it the end of the world they dropped to 7? No, especially in this draft, because there are a couple of things at play. And I'm sure you've seen the angle about paying guys. Well, if you draft at 3 this year and you're getting a player that in other years would be 7 or 8, now you're talking about a few $1 million a year that could be a big difference. And I don't think it's a bad thing at all. My initial reaction was, 7? Are you kidding me? Just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. But really, in this draft, there is such a lack of consensus of who's going where that I don't think 7 is bad at all. Because the idea that anybody in this draft, whether you're drafting at 2 or 7 or 12 or 14, is going to come in and immediately save this franchise and turn them into a playoff team and, instantly be the guy. I mean, it's just false. You're probably going to get a role player or 2 in this draft, and maybe an outside chance one of those guys turns into something really special. It's next year's draft is the one that everybody's talking about. That's the one you're angling for. So if they're in this position next year and have a top 3 or top 4 chances and then, end up at 7, then I think you can be legitimately disappointed.
The voice of your Portland Trail Blazers, Travis Demers. You can follow him on social media, on X or Twitter, whatever you call it, at Travis Demers. But he is on full-on summer break on social media, which I appreciate, Trav. Log off, let it roll, because it is summer, and you don't need to be on your phone. I'm assuming a lot of T-ball, a lot of Little League in your future as well, a lot of wiffle ball in the backyard. So I appreciate you carving out time out of your day. Love talking to you, Trav. Miss seeing you all the time, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Likewise, man. Anytime, give me a shout. I miss being on with you, and I miss seeing you. And I'm going to go back to eating the crusts of my son's French toast.
Oh, dude, that French toast crust. That is legit. There we go. He's the man, Travis Demers. But the amount of crust you eat as a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent, clearly, but, like, of all the things, like, parents eat, crust has got to be, like, number one on there. We may think about that on the other side. We wrap up the show next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up the show. We do that the same way each and every day with the RCM mailbag. Random questions, any subject, and a topic. Got a little long-winded with Trav, which is always a good thing. He's the voice of the Blazers. So no more wasting time, Justin. Quit introing the segment and get right to it. Let's open up the mailbag.
All right, Justin, as you mentioned, you wanted to continue the mailbag thought you had with Travis last segment.
So he said he was going to eat the crust off of his kid's French toast. I was like that as a child as well, did not like the crust. Like the heel of the bread loaf, like that might as well be garbage. You just...
Not a fan of the heel, huh?
I am now.
Oh, yeah.
When I was a child, though,
yeah.
like crust was like... I don't know what it is with kids, like... Obviously, taste buds have changed, and things that I thought are delicious are things that you find disgusting. Like, I loved tuna sandwiches growing up. You find it disgusting. The blandness that the children of today, like, noodles and butter, what? But the one universal in the taste buds is that crust as a child's terrible. It's just the worst. And that's why they created Uncrustables. But I was thinking, I am not a parent. You are not a parent. I've seen multiple parents, though, who eat their kids' food now. What is crust from a sandwich the most eaten thing by a parent? I would think pizza crust has got to be up there, too. When you were a kid, did you eat the pizza crust? I bet you left pizza crust.
I like crust.
Oh, okay. But a lot of kids don't like the pizza crust.
Yeah, like I remember it depended on where, but usually, yeah, if I had I was always like a dip kid, so it's like if I had something to dip it in.
Throw some ranch in there.
Exactly. So, yeah.
But I think a lot of parents probably eat pizza crust.
What else are kids not eating?
Like the end of French fries? Like the last part of the French fries?
Yeah,
I don't know. I never let the French fries.
Yeah.
Nobody was eating those but me.
Oh, here's another one.
Pickles? I think pickles.
I don't know what age you go, but this is one for me. What age you go from mashed potatoes to baked potatoes, but for the longest time, I would not eat the skin.
No potato skin.
Yes, I'd eat the innard of a baked potato and not the skin when you realize as an adult. It turns out skin's the best part for you. So,
well, and that's where I was, because my parents were like, yeah, no, you eat the skin. That's where all the good stuff is. That was like the Myers version of you got to eat your vegetables.
Got you.
You got to eat the potato skin.
I totally remember, that was a stretch of a year or two, and then I tried the skin. It's like, oh, it's pretty good, too.
Pickles off of sandwiches or hamburgers probably got to be up there as well. I picked a lot of pickles off of, but I guess now you just get it however you want it.
Yeah, kids just make their own burgers.
But I picked a lot of pickles off
of
McDonald's burgers.
I
think pizza crust, though, has definitely got to be.
Pizza crust.
That was a good pull on the baked potato.
Yeah.
Eating the skins.
I just remember that being very, very specific to me. Because Justin loves to learn more about my little specific eating patterns growing up. Because it literally explains who and why I am where I am now.
The end of Lucky Charms when the marshmallows were out.
Kids that only want to eat the marshmallows out of Lucky Charms. Yeah. I wanted a bowl full of marshmallows, Justin.
Well, we all did. Yeah, we all wanted it. We all knew that it probably wasn't the best idea.
As a kid, I'll admit to this too. I used to grab the box, take out a handful, just eat the marshmallows.
Oh, we did that all the time.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
Glad I wasn't alone. Okay, good.
The last 2 pours of Lucky Charms
had very little.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst because there's no marshmallows in it.
Yeah,
you would grab the box as a kid and you wouldn't look for the toy first.
No. Yeah, totally.
I did.
Yeah. Sorry,
and you tilt it sideways and kind of pop the box open and peek down. I think I can get it. So you get the toy first, and then just every once in a while, just grab a couple marshmallows.
Yeah, there were some cool things that came in the toys, man. You'd be surprised. Nowadays, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't even think. I go up and down the cereal aisle a fair amount. I don't even think they really do toys in cereal anymore, Justin. I think
probably a hazard. I don't know.
Maybe
who would have thought maybe a small plastic thing in the food you eat might not be such a good idea.
The one I remember the most, and it's I'm sure I got lots of stuff. There was this really cool in a box of Fruity Pebbles, Justin. There was a glow-in-the-dark, like, Star Wars spoon.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, it was a glow-in-the-dark cereal spoon, right? You got to have it. And it was, like, not in every box. Not, like, rare, but, like, it was in every, like, 5th box or something.
Did you ever have the cereal spoon that had the straw? You could drink the milk with the spoon?
Yes, I remember that, too. Yeah.
Big one.
That was good.
Hot take, didn't like Fruity Pebbles. I mean, I liked it, but was not my favorite. Mushy real fast.
Let me ask you this.
Real mushy real fast.
They did. You talk about something else. You had to, it was, okay, what's worse? Fruity Pebbles after 5 minutes of sitting?
30 seconds.
Or Kraft macaroni after sitting out at room temperature and not being hot?
Yeah.
Kraft mac, when it cools, is nasty.
I still think Fruity Pebbles is way worse.
Kind of a
soggy Fruity Pebbles.
But you know what I mean, though, with
still
mac.
Worse. It's true.
If you don't eat macaroni when it's coming off of the...
How about 10-minute-old McDonald's French fries?
Yeah, no. Those they turn quick.
Isn't it so? Like they are the most amazing French fries out there. They are the best French fries out there.
You have to eat them in the parking lot now. That's how
really do.
You do.
But
I can't take them home.
15 minutes in, they're trash. Like you could throw them out. A bird won't eat them. A bird won't eat them. All right. It's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Travis Demers. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Monday. We are back at it bright and early tomorrow morning. We'll talk to you then here on 620 Rip City Radio.